structures up at Mount Wilson secured. There is some blistering and small minor things that had occurred from the radiant heat that occurred as the fire made its way up towards that infrastructure, but there were no structures lost at Mount Wilson due to the hard firefight the men and women put in. As you continue down the Mount Wilson Road here, heading south, the fire has another section here where we are using aircraft to extinguish the fire. This section right here is kind of near Winters Creek. And then as you continue down the fire's edge here, we have a combination of dozer and hand line that connect all the way down to the reservoir. Right here at the reservoir, in the early stages of the fire crossed, spotted across the road system here to the east. This is another section of the fire where it is too rugged and steep for the firefighters to put feet on the ground here. There are heat sources. We've been able to keep the fire in check with aircraft that have been assigned to our incident. And so we'll continue to do that until we can show these sections of the fire contained. As you come around the lower section of the fire here, a lot of progress has been made at gaining containment. Along this section here, all along the bottom end, we have a lot of work to do, as you can see, along the south end of the fire here. As you work your way down through the communities here, the heaviest impacts from the fire that we've identified will be in the Altadena area. There's a lot of work in here. In my career, I've never seen the amount of devastation and destruction that exists in here. So a lot of work. It's going to be long term. As far as the fire perimeter, we're continuing to mop up and secure this and working as hard as we can to make sure that we can get folks back into their communities. As you continue around the bottom edge of the fire back out to the west, we're still making progress, and it kind of brings us back up to where I started. I want to just speak to these areas of concern that I spoke to. We have a mobile retardant plant. It's a portable tank that we can set up here at Mount Wilson that allows us to use the retardant from that tank to drop on these areas that we've identified as far as concerns. We're also working to identify ridges and other features out here from past fires and from information we have from the forest, the national forest here, that we will use to implement as contingency plans if these areas become concerns and we're not able to control them during a future wind events. So we do have plans in place both on the east side of the fire and on the west side of the fire should another wind event occur. We'll continue to work as hard as we can, as safely as we can, to get you all back into your property safely. Thank you for having me.
I know the map is a little difficult to see. You guys are more than welcome after the meeting to come up and we can answer some questions. There's several information officers around that will be able to assist you too. Next, we're going to go with fire behavior and weather update with Dennis Burns.
Good afternoon, Dennis Burns, fire behavior analyst for the incident management team. First off, let me go a little bit into the weather that we're expecting over the next several days. In my career, I haven't seen as many red flag days in a row as what we're seeing here since the Thomas fire a few years ago. We're looking at the red flag warnings to continue through Thursday morning, most likely. Having said all that, you may start seeing advertised as soon as this evening, if you're watching the news, that the National Weather Service is issuing what they call basically a very dangerous situation, particularly dangerous situation. However, that is to the north of us. We're still in the red flag warning, but the winds are actually expected to be farther north of us than what they are, so we should be out of the fire area. It doesn't mean things are any better, but the chance for damaging winds, things like that, actually are a little bit more north of us. If I can back up a little bit in time, when this fire first ignited, the typical Santa Ana, so if you look at 20 years of weather, the typical Santa Ana has a more northeasterly component. More northeasterly component. The wind's coming this way. Tomorrow's is actually more east. When this incident started, it was almost directly out of the north, which is very rare for this area. I've been doing fire behavior for 25 years, and this area where this incident occurred is generally during significant Santa Ana events pretty wind sheltered. I mean, you feel the wind, but nothing like to the north, San Fernando Valley going out to the coast and through Ventura County. So, it does happen as we've seen, but this actual event was pretty rare. So we're continuing that dry conditions. Humidities are going to get down into the single digits. They're running in the teens right now. We're looking at winds. We could potentially see gusts, particularly over the ridge tops, in the 40 to 50 mile an hour range. And that, as I'm saying, it'll kind of ebb and flow over the next couple of days. It's kind of ebbed this afternoon. It'll probably pick back up tonight. And then tomorrow night, it'll really ramp up. We'll see the strongest winds Tuesday morning, starting pretty early, probably 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then continuing on through the day, and then they should subside a little bit after that. The driest day will actually be Wednesday, even though the strongest winds will be Tuesday, but we still will maintain that offshore flow through Thursday morning. So having said all that, weather-wise, what's that mean for the fire? Ernie mentioned a couple of things. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is that the two colors you see outside the fire perimeter, this was the station fire, and I just vapor locked. Bobcat, I was going to say Cub, but Bobcat. And you can see there's kind of a ridge system that goes through here. So this is generally the most logical place for us to pick up the fires because it's held fire before, and that's where most of our lines are. We try to find ridges or topographical features that are going to hold our fire. What you can't see from back there is a lot of these drainages are where the heaviest fuels are. We get infrared flowing over the fire. These drainages are showing quite a bit of heat still inside just because that's where the most fuel is. The good thing about the dry conditions are those fuels are burning out a little bit quicker than they normally would. So that's on the positive side. The negative side is it still provides a heat source, and if it generates enough heat, we could see spot fires, and with the predicted winds, we could potentially see spot fires up to 2 miles, maybe even farther. For some of you that were up a little bit earlier this morning, you saw a column of smoke coming out of that. That's one of those drainages. It's also one of the areas that Ernie was mentioning that we've got to work with aircraft. However, part of that drainage has high tension power lines running through it, and our aircraft cannot drop through wires. So, but it's a good thing that those fuels are burning out, and we've got people that are boxing that out. But that is a potential source on this fire and if we saw any spotting, we would expect it to go in this direction. The other thing that, and you can't really see it by looking, but there's still a lot of smoldering fire in these areas, and because of all the rubble from all the damaged homes and whatnot, it's those buildings pancaked on top of that heat. So it's going to require a lot of time to lift all that out. So those sources of heat continue to be a concern for us, and they will continue there just because of so much material that we have in our houses. So those are also sources of heat that are a concern. We're not expecting a significant amount of spotting potential out of here. It's more in the wildland areas. So that's pretty much where we're sitting. We're not as concerned on this side of the fire and in the lower elevations in the vegetation, mainly because the fire burned so hot initially that it basically moonscaped the fuels, so there's really nothing left to burn. So our heat sources tend to be in the drainages and where the structures were, and that's where we're concentrating.
Thank you. Our next speaker is going to be Air Resource Advisor Jen Croft.
Good evening. It's great to see so many smiling faces after such a tragic event. I'm encouraged that all of you are here. I'm Jen Croft with the Interagency Wildfire Air Quality Response Program. I take the information from the operations group, the incident commander, all of our cooperators, fire behavior, and the incident meteorologist to kind of formulate your various incident-specific air quality forecasts. I'm looking at the impacts to public health, public transportation, and all of our fire suppression responders that are in the system. I use that information then to formulate a forecast that's very specific, tapping into all the monitors that are available. The monitors that are available in the area right now, you can see them at fire.airnow.gov. I would highly encourage all of you to take a look at that, because that will help you determine when you need to be wearing a mask, when maybe you don't need to go for a run today, and for those of you that have pre-existing conditions like cardiac and respiratory issues, when it's time to find a better place to be. Information is loaded on that. I encourage all of you to go and visit with that. That being said, when you look outside right now, the air quality is good in the entire LA basin, which in itself is a pretty awesome reflection of the tremendous effort of our operation and our fire suppression incident management team. However, here's the hard part. Because the air quality is better, you're all going to want to get back in there and check things out. I met today with the South Coast Air Quality Management District, and we talked about some of the monitor readings we're seeing in the area, in particular in relationship to the buildings and structures that we saw engulfed in the fire. There's a tremendous amount of particulates and pollutants in all of those materials, and right now the lead and arsenic readings are higher, and that's a monitor that is well to the south of us. So the indications that if you are trying to repopulate, particularly in the Altadena foothills, the likelihood of higher level of arsenic, lead, and asbestos exposure is very present. Keep that in mind when you start thinking about digging into all of your property items, moving things, taking a look at. Keep your mind of when your house was built, what the properties might include in terms of lead, and be aware that arsenic is very present in a lot of locations. Again, I'm looking out on this crowd, I'm seeing smiling faces and masks. Keep in mind the P100 and the N95 are the preferred masks to be utilizing. Make sure they are well fitted, and be aware that it puts additional stress on your hearts. And so for some of you might want to consider not utilizing an N95 mask until you've talked to a doctor, because that breathing rate on your heart actually causes as much, if not more, stress sometimes than the particulates themselves. PM 2.5 is 70 times smaller than the size of your human hair. So if you're wearing a fabric mask or an unfitted mask or only partially fitting your mask, it's not protecting you. Don't use it that way, please. If you're using it to protect us from any respiratory issues you might want to share, I appreciate that as well. I'll be here for questions afterwards. Thank you.
All right, so that's going to cover our portion of operational in regards to the suppression efforts. Now I'm going to bring up Operational Section Chief Jed Gaines, who's going to talk about the operational recovery efforts we've been doing.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. So when this fire started on Tuesday afternoon, evening, and it exploded into what it turned into, the decision was made on Wednesday to order a second incident management team. And part of that reason was for disaster response and recovery. Typically on a fire this size, we don't have two incident management teams, but because of the complexity and the disaster and the devastation that you guys have seen here, that is why that decision was made. Part of that is the recovery efforts and the cleanup that's going to need to be done in here because of the amount of structures and damage that has been in there. So we have the lower section where all the communities are, Sierra Madre, Pasadena, and Altadena, all divided up for our span of control. We have urban search and rescue teams in collaborations with the Sheriff's Department's search and rescue teams, split up into 3 groups that consist of a total of 400 personnel for those teams. Those teams are going through, and we are doing searches of every structure that was impacted by fire. Part of that reason is to search for human remains. We have human remain dogs that are highly trained with all of these teams to go through, along with an anthropologist, to go in and search every building. We are doing those search by target searches that we get from missing persons report through the Sheriff's Department. and then also any other 911 related calls that happen during the evacuation. This is a common practice on incidences like this because of the fast moving, the short time of evacuation notice that was given, and the amount of destruction did not allow everyone efficient time to get out of the area. So we have urban search and rescue teams from all over the state of California that are here. We have a hazmat team that has been ordered and is here assisting with LA County's hazmat team, and they are going to be here for the duration. There's a lot of hazardous material. There's still a lot of heat in these homes that we still have to cool down ahead of these USAR teams that are out there doing these searches and to get that completed. We have them broke up to try to get stuff done. We've started in the Sierra Madre area on the east side, and we are getting that done. We're hopeful we can get all these done in the next 7 to 10 days for everything that is out there across the whole front country of all the communities in there. That's our target goal. With the hazmat, we have found a underground lithium battery storage plant for bicycle batteries that has posed a huge hazard in that area. We are working with the hazmat teams to keep that contained. So a lot of that is just very dangerous. As you just heard, the air quality in some of that area is still very, very high and dangerous. We have worked with the state on a hydrology report for what this is going to look like when the rains do come. It is January. We will get rains at some point here in California. And so we are working on a hydrology report, and they're running models on what the county can do and what we can do to start preparing for that, because that is something we do need to think of. We have an infrastructure group that we're working in collaboration with the County Roads Department, City Public Works Department. We're helping get roads opened up and cleared up so the utility companies can still get in there. They're getting in there, still getting the power lines down. There's not only fire damage, but there's a lot of wind damage. We have large trees that are down across the roadways, into houses, power lines down all over, so we are working on getting that cleaned up as well to get the utility companies in there. There's been open gas lines for structures that have been lost that have just continued to burn. The water supply has been contaminated, so we're working on assisting in all that we can there. Also, damage inspection teams are out assessing, getting numbers. There'll be a little more information on that later tonight for you guys to get that information daily. We're also assisting the county, and local assistance centers are being opened up for the duration of this, because this is going to continue on for several months. As far as evacuations and repopulating these areas, we understand folks want to get in there, but you guys have to understand that it's still very dangerous out there. We have 2 meetings a day with all the departments that are involved with the cities and the county to talk about, and the utility companies, on where we can let people back in and where we cannot. So the areas where the fire did burn, it's still very, very dangerous in there, not just because there's still hot stuff, but like, as I said, the hazardous materials that are still out there because of the amount of structures that have been lost. Thank you.
Next up, in regards to evacuation information, Captain Williams with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
Good afternoon. I want to make sure everybody can hear me. Great. My name is Jabari Williams. I'm captain of Altadena Sheriff Station. I just want to give a few updates and some information. As we heard, the fires has caused significant damage. We have over 7,000 structures damaged. 3,200 residents have been evacuated, and there's still over 9,000 structures still at risk. So it's important that we follow the guidelines just to keep people safe. There's progress being made right now to repopulate certain areas of Altadena. As was mentioned earlier, there's a long process involved, and involves a lot of different agencies. They meet, like you said, twice a day. They go out to certain areas. Those include Public Works, the utility companies, Public Health Department, the Fire Department, and of course the Sheriff's Department. And we all have to agree that the area is safe for people to repopulate before we can actually start to do it. So it's a long process. We are making some progress, but just be patient with us because it's going to take some time. The Sheriff's Department, we have over 350 personnel on scene, actively working. We have over 1,400 missions in place. That includes hard road closures, traffic control points, roving security, and evacuations as needed. We're still supported by the National Guard and by California Highway Patrol. The 6 o'clock curfew is still in effect, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. mandatory curfew, and that's only for the evacuation order areas throughout Altadena. Again, that's only for the evacuation ordered areas throughout Altadena. As of this morning, we've made 25 arrests. Some of those arrests were for curfew violations, so we are strictly enforcing this curfew. Please adhere to it. There was questions about whether people can bring drones or fly drones into the affected areas to assess their property damage. The answer is no. It is actually illegal. It's against the law to fly a drone in a damaged area like this. We've already made 2 arrests for people flying their drones. So please do not fly the drones in the damaged area, please. I want to talk more about the repopulation. As of right now, we're starting to repopulate part of Altadena. We've started just as of 3 o'clock today. There's an area, and I'll describe the area. It's south of New York, east of Hill Street, and west of Altadena Drive. That area has now been downgraded to an evacuation warning area. That means people can go into that area back to their residence. However, there's still no power in some of those areas. So just be aware, it's an evacuation warning area. There are some things you need to adhere to. So we just want to make sure when you get to an area, check for conditions that could be hazardous, okay? Inspect your surrounding areas. There still may be some hazard, debris, things like that may have been moved into that area. Wear protective clothing when you're assessing your area. Mask, shoes, gloves, things like that. We want you to protect yourself as you still move into your area and assess your property. Be mindful of there's still some ash and toxic substance that may be in that area. If you have respiratory conditions, consider that. Please, it's best to hire a professional to check your utilities. I don't recommend you do it yourself. Please have someone that's a professional to come out and check it. This is important. Document the damages. Take photos before you start to clean up. This may be important for insurance purposes. And this is such a trying time. Your emotional well-being is important. Just make sure you have support with you. And if you don't, please see if you can seek help if you need so, because this is could be such a trying time for people as they start to repopulate the area and assess the damages. Again, only that area I described has been downgraded to a evacuation warning area. The rest of Altadena, north of that, what I described, is still considered evacuation ordered area. It's still not safe to go into that area. There's a lot of things that could cause a lot of dangerous debris. There's wires still down in the area. There's no guarantee that a safe water supply can be supplied to that area. And that's the reason why it has not been downgraded to an evacuation warning area. On a personal note, I just like to say, I've been the captain of Altadena for about 3 years, and ever since I got there, it's like I've been adopted as part of the community. I don't live in Altadena, but I feel that I'm part of that community. That's how all of the people that work at Altadena feels. So we feel for everyone. Our heart goes out to you, and I just want you to know that we're doing the best we can to make sure that we help with this situation, and we're going to be there for you no matter what. So definitely, Altadena Station and the Sheriff's Department will be there throughout this whole situation. Thank you.
Thank you for that information, Captain Williams. Next up, we're going to go into some utility information. We're going to start out with the Director of Los Angeles County Public Works, Mark Pastrella.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me start out by saying how sorry I am for what's happened to every resident, whether it's in Altadena or the surrounding cities, for your loss. I have experienced that loss myself and am currently recovering in my own home after a recent fire in the Camarillo area. So I know what it takes. I know, I at least can say, I have deep feeling for you, and my first piece of advice to you is let's take care of our mental and physical health first before we embark upon what is going to be a journey to rebuild these communities back and rebuild them better than they were when we started this fire. So as the fire and sheriff, and by the way, I had to start there too, we're so lucky to have an outstanding fire department and sheriff and PD and fire from Pasadena. They have done an outstanding job along with our state and federal partners, and especially CAL FIRE, have done a great job attacking this fire and bringing it to a closure, and now preparing to hand off the facilities, this place, back to your local public works department and utilities, and that's who's about to talk to you next. But I want to do hands off, great response, incredible what has happened to reduce the risk that occurred here, albeit it was massive. And by the way, after a 38-year career in public works and many, many fires, both in my personal life and in my professional life, this is a career fire. This is a significant event in LA County, and you have gone through a significant event. The good news, and what I want to bring to you, is hope and optimism. You have local agencies, in particular our Public Works Agency, as well as our other departments that you will meet here in a minute, who have, unfortunately, the great experience of how to recover after fires, after many years of experience, and we're good at it. And we intend to bring all of our force to recover this place and bring back the life safety and support system that supports you in the homes that you will reoccupy someday. So now let's talk a little bit about what we know so far. We've been up, our department, along with CAL FIRE, have been up and looking at the watershed that has been burned, including those portions of the watershed that you occupy in your homes, also with the commercial structures that are out there. As has been stated, there are hundreds of structures that have been, or more, that have been damaged and that are a total loss. There are some structures that are partially burned and may be recoverable, but they are all in a state of no power, no water, no road service, and have no internet service, which many are important to you too. And these are the components that our department is looking at to restore, along with the public or private utility companies. First, on the water supply, Los Angeles County, this area has had a major impact to its water system. Collaboration is ongoing with the 4 water districts that serve this area, including Pasadena Water and Power, to bring back the water to a point that you can actually use it. Currently, all 5 water agencies are under direct no-use order. This means that no one in the the burn area, or in those areas served by these districts, should be using the water. That includes bathing in the water or drinking the water. It's incredibly important that you follow this order. The water is, as stated before, contaminated at this point and not being treated to state standards. So I can't emphasize enough that you should not use the water. So residents in affected areas may not do not use notice restricting the use of tap water for drinking, cooking, breathing, brushing teeth, or feeding pets. Affected communities, I said before, Altadena and Pasadena, includes Lincoln Avenue, Rubio Canyon, and Kinaloa systems as well as Cagle Canyon Waterworks System, are all under a don't use water order. For more information about whether or not your water is usable or not yet, you can go to water4la.com, water4la.com spelled out. We are distributing water currently in Altadena and Pasadena at 450 North Lake Avenue, Pasadena. That is being brought to you by Pasadena Water and Power along with LA County Public Works. In terms of road safety, our crews are clearing fallen trees and debris to ensure access to all of you and to first responders. We have 32 active road enclosures in the unincorporated area. We've cleared some 180 trees so far out of 372 that need to be removed. We have we've closed out 100 of 130. Well, we had 130 traffic signals out. We've got 109 of them back up and running. If you see any of these facilities down, trees down, or signals down, please call 1-800-675-HELP or 1-800-675-4357. We will respond within 24 hours to that notice. Debris removal is a question that a lot of people are asking about. LA County is working hand in hand with CAL FIRE and Cal Recycle to prepare your properties to be cleared of their debris. The program that we will embark on is a program in which we first assess the property for toxics, check to see that there are no household hazardous waste there, remove those household hazardous waste in conjunction with County Hazmat and County Health. We will certify the lots that they're ready to be cleared, and then we will be working with each of you to enter into a program where you'll give us right of entry to enter your property and actually allow us to do the cleanup in a certified and organized manner. Some of you may opt to clean your own properties. That will have to be done by registered debris removal agencies and will have to be under the supervision again of LA County Public Health and LA County Fire Hazmat. I highly suggest that when the program is launched, that you enter into the program that is free, in which we will dispose of the material properly and we will deliver a lot to you ready to build. So more news to come on that. For more updates about debris removal from your properties, please go to recovery.lacounty.gov. With respect to rebuilding efforts, I know many of you are anxious to get back and rebuild. Once the debris removal is complete and your lot has been certified as cleared of all hazardous materials, the county will establish a one-stop permitting center in Altadena, located physically in Altadena, to streamline the permitting process and to provide easy access to necessary services. You may have heard or may not have heard about what's going on in terms of streamlining. Supervisor Barger has committed to streamlining the system for LA County residents, and the governor of the state of California has recently also committed to reducing the regulations required to rebuild a home. We intend to make this as fast as possible to rebuild your homes. We still have active fire in the area, as you heard from our fire partners. It's important to be always ready to go, as we all know now. Please go to ready.lacounty.gov to find out what's going on with the fires at any given time. Again, please report any public works or utility issues as well. That would be power, sewer, water, roads, signals, any of those systems. Please report them to LA County Public Works, again at 1-800-675-HELP. And there are one area that I would want to mention, accessing recovery resources. I mentioned that website, but I also want to mention that there's FEMA staff available and internet access to assist residents at the local libraries, specifically at La Quinata Flint Ridge Library. And I imagine that we'll be opening up the local library in Altadena for the same purpose shortly. With that, I will sit down and turn it over to the next speaker, and I'll be here for any questions you might have afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that information. Our next speaker is going to be the Director of Public Affairs, Cody Tubbs, with Southern California Edison.
Good afternoon. Want to make sure everyone can hear me okay. My name is Cody Tubbs. I'm a Director of Public Affairs at Southern California Edison. I'm here today because I want to provide some very specific information about the crews that we have deployed 24/7 to restore power in a safe manner as quickly as we possibly can, in particular in the Altadena community of our service area. Before I get into some of the statistics around all the resources that we have deployed, focusing on restoring service in a safe and efficient manner, I wanted to take a minute to just share a personal note. I used to live up on Galbraith Road for a number of years. I'm very familiar with the community, and myself, many of our SC team members are living this with you. One of my team members at SC, who I work most closely with every day, unfortunately, she got out of her home in Altadena with the shirt on her back and her 2 dogs, and that was it. And I feel for her. I know many of you in the room are either going through similar crises or you have friends and family and loved ones who are, and we're living this with all of you. On top of all that, we certainly understand the hardship of having power that's out for extended periods of time. So I wanted to share some information in terms of the resources we have deployed. As of today, we've deployed 3,500 SCE crews, contract crews, mutual aid personnel, vegetation management, planners, and others whose sole mission is focused on getting the power restored across the service area. Since we began this severe, unprecedented wind event of last Tuesday, we've had over 500,000 SCE customers who've had their power restored. I know all of you here in the room today are most interested, what does it mean for these communities here? And I want to share some very granular information with all of you that hopefully paints the picture of the resources that we have dedicated, in particular in Altadena, related to Eaton fire restoration. We have over 500 line workers, hundreds more vegetation management crews, a number of planners, all of whom are focused on working out of a mobile command center here in the Altadena community with the mission of, in a 24/7 manner, getting the power restored as safely and as quickly as we possibly can.
I'm sorry, but if we're going to do that, we're going to cut the meeting short. It's not what this meeting is for. This meeting is to get information out to everyone. So if you could please hold your comments, I would appreciate that, or we will shut the meeting down. Thank you.
I want to talk a bit more about the danger that still lies ahead. Several of the fire personnel have talked about we're still continuing to face some very dangerous winds that are upcoming, at least through the Wednesday into Thursday morning period in particular. That does mean we will utilize public safety power shutoff as a tool of last resort. It is a tool in the toolbox we use where we will proactively de-energize circuits to prevent wildfire risk and to try and keep our communities safe. We know how disruptive that can be, especially on top of the recent fire activity, on top of wind-related damage to the grid and to our infrastructure. And so I would encourage all of you to please stay safe. Continue to check sce.com, where we will provide the latest information concerning any public safety power shutoffs. The sheriff's captain talked about an issue that I do want to underscore, and I want to take a couple minutes to do that. We have had reports of generators that have been hooked up in a manner that's unsafe. Please work with a licensed electrician when hooking up a generator. If the generator is not hooked up in a safe manner, it can cause what's called backfeed onto our system. This can pose potentially fatal risk, both for our personnel but also for the public. So please, when hooking up a generator, please consult with a licensed electrician. Another issue as we continue to face this period of potentially sustained high and dangerous winds, additional red flag days, treat any downed wire that you may see as though it's live and stay away, and please call 911. That is our number one safety concern. Safety has driven all of our decision making every step along the way, and I want to ensure that all of you have the information and the tools that you need to stay safe. I also want to share some information in terms of some of the remarkable work that I know many nonprofit charitable organizations in the communities have begun. Food banks, the YMCA, Pasadena Humane, so many organizations doing so much. Edison International, the parent company of Southern California Edison, will be providing our own resources to further help with the great charitable activity that I know a number of those organizations are working on. I want to talk just a little bit, if I could, building on Mark Estrella's comments, LA County Public Works. Southern California Edison is committed to working shoulder to shoulder, not only with the first responders with whom we've been working with every step of the way since these incidents began. We've had one of our fire management personnel deployed at the Eaton Fire Command Post every single day. We'll continue to work closely with other partners, certainly with Supervisor Barger's office, Representative Chu's office, others, LA County Public Works. Mr. Estrella mentioned this notion of a centralized permitting office in Altadena. Southern California Edison wants to partner with LA County Public Works so that we can have the most efficient, streamlined process possible as those of you who will need to focus on rebuilding embark upon that process. We want it to be as efficient as we possibly can, and we're committed to partnering closely with LA County Public Works and other partners to make sure that happens. I will be available after to answer questions. I do want to underscore, for those of you who are looking for the most up-to-date information, SCE.com is updated regularly 24/7. It includes all of our safety information. Please, it's a resource available to you, and please make good use of it. Look forward to answering your questions. Thank you for your time.
All right, I'd like to also remind everyone, if you could please silence your phones. I've gotten a request to remind everyone for that. Our next speaker is going to be Roger Schwecke, Senior Vice President and Chief of Infrastructure with SoCal Gas.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk with you today and give you some of the updates from SoCal Gas. First of all, I'd like to start. Our hearts go out for everyone that's been impacted by these fires, not only in the Eaton fire, but in the Palisade fire. As I spend time in those areas, it tugs at my heart seeing the devastation that has occurred. It's unprecedented in my lifetime in Southern California, what I've seen all the way from the earthquakes to the other fires. Since the beginning of the fire, SoCal Gas has been working around the clock in the Altadena and Pasadena areas to make the system safe for the public, for our employees. As part of that process of making it safe, unfortunately, we had to stop service to more customers than just were impacted. And we recognize the inconvenience of not having gas service during these times. But also, as we're working through making it safe, we are preparing for reintroducing gas into the system. And I would say, if you look at SoCalGas.com, we actually have a map that shows where that isolation area is, and we will continue to update that as we reintroduce gas into the system for areas in which we can restore. Our plan is to start restoring and have available for restoration of gas service starting early this week. The first part will occur on the eastern side of the area, and we will work our way to the west. It's challenging for us because the interconnections within our system from street to street, that how do we reintroduce gas in a safe manner? So we'll be updating this as the gas is available. Restoration of an individual home, once we have gas in the system, actually requires that we enter the home. So it will require to have someone there. We go into a home to do safety checks, to make sure the appliances and the piping in the home are safe, and then we will basically leave with the service on. So we'll have to have an adult present for us to go into the home. So what that means is, not only will we tell you areas that we are, but if you're actually reoccupied your home, if you've been out of your home, call us. Call our number to try to schedule service. We're going to increase the number of personnel we have on site. You've probably seen them. We also have mutual assistance coming in from other utilities. We have employees coming in from San Diego Gas and Electric, Pacific Gas and Electric, and Northwest Natural up north. They're all coming in to help supplement our workforce that goes in and restores service. So you should start seeing a larger presence of SoCal Gas. Now, I know a lot of people are concerned that you may have imposters. Granted, that's something that we don't want to happen. So each and every SoCal Gas employee will be suited up, and they will carry a badge, like this badge. And every crew that comes in from like San Diego Gas and Electric will be accompanied by someone from SoCal Gas. If you are still concerned about it, call our 1-800 number that's on our website, and we will validate the identity of the individual that is there. That is how we will help assist in moving this forward and getting us to a point where we can start introducing gas further into the system across the area. You know, the one thing, SoCal Gas is here for you. We will be here for you for the entire process, whether it's just the restoration here or as we get into the rebuild process. We will stand with you throughout that entire process. And as you start looking at clearing your property, make sure you call a service that's a free service, 811, that allows us to come out and mark our utility services. That way we don't have any further damage. But that's where we are, so I'll look forward to answering any questions you have later on. But again, SoCal Gas is here. We will be here. We've been here for 150 years, and we will continue to be so to support the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up from our Public Health, Los Angeles County Director of Public Health, Dr. Barbara Ferreira.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start by just expressing my just heartfelt prayers and thoughts for all of you who have suffered devastating losses. You know, I know some of you who are here today. I have some friends, I have some colleagues who have lost everything, and I know that that's the same story for so many of you. And there's really almost no words that we can offer in these times except for you to know that we're gonna be here for you in all of the ways you decide you need our help. And I'm really here today to listen and take back to our team what it is that would be helpful for you as we head into a recovery phase. I do want to thank our first responders. Their efforts have been heroic, and it's almost a week, so thank you. You know, we all owe them a huge debt of gratitude for putting their lives on their lines for all of us every single day, round the clock. You know, I also want to acknowledge and thank the supervisors, the County Board of Supervisors, particularly Supervisor Barger, Supervisor Horvath. You know, it's an honor to work for you. This is a time where all of our elected officials have come together, and they really are bosses and make it possible for us to be able to listen to you, and then their insistence that we be of service is something I take to heart every day, but I really appreciate the outstanding leadership. And I want to note that the public health officer here in LA County has declared this now a health emergency, which does allow us to work with the federal government, who has also declared this a health emergency, to try to relax, again, some of the rules and get some waivers so that we can have some more flexibility. I'm, of course, worried about three things in particular. One is I want to make sure that all of you have access to all of the health services you need. Health services to meet your physical needs, health services to meet your emotional needs and help you address all of this trauma. And we do need some flexibility. I want to make sure that those of you who need your medications are able to get your medications. Right now, I know you can go to the Civic Center, and there's a pharmacy team there that'll help you connect and get your prescriptions. Hopefully, starting tomorrow, the Department of Public Health will stand up a telehealth service for those of you who are having trouble going through your normal provider or your normal pharmacy to get your prescriptions filled. We're also here to help you connect to a provider if your provider is no longer able to provide services because they've either been evacuated or they're in a zone where there's been a lot of fire damage. So please, we have a 7-day-a-week service for you. You can call us, and we're going to try to help you with what you need. When you came in today, we're handing out, these are respirator masks. These are N95 masks. Please take as many as you need. These are meant to help you as you may go back into areas where there either's been a lot of fire or you're going back into your homes that are intact, but all of this area is covered with soot and fine ash, and it's unfortunately very toxic. So pick up as many of these as you need. We're also giving them out at all of the shelters, and we have special distributions that go to many of our most vulnerable residents, including people experiencing homelessness and workers who need to be outside. But it's going to be particularly important. I don't think there's going to be a lifting of this bad air quality advisory. And for those of you who are going to be outside, you really should be using the N95 masks. Those cloth masks, even those sort of blue masks that you may use for in other situations, they're not going to work to filter out the fine particulates that are in the smoke and the smoke vapors. So, pick up what you need. If you need more, go to the shelter after today. We'll also, of course, have them at at all of the family assistance centers and the one-stop centers that will be set up later in the week. I do want to also note that we have a lot of instructions. We put some out here, but we have sheets. There are two groups of you that I hope you make use of this information. One is those of you who are going back and your houses are there, but you were in a zone where there was a lot of smoke and there's a lot of ash and soot. It looks like this. It's in many different languages. It'll tell you how to safely clean up. It also will tell you, please don't use your leaf blowers. Please don't use a household vacuum cleaner unless it's got a HEPA filter. Those things are just blowing around this dangerous and somewhat toxic ash. So we do have some tips on how to clean safely. We also have passed out today, for those of you that are going back into areas where there's been a lot of fire devastation, those areas in particular, you need to take extra precautions, and you've heard that from so many of the speakers today. The one thing I'd like to urge is when you're going back, this ash is particularly toxic to young children. So we're going to urge that young children not be touching any of this contaminated debris because it's filled with lead, asbestos. Some of you, we've had meltdowns of lithium batteries. So you think of your houses as being relatively safe, and they are, but when they burn, there's a lot of toxicity there. So please pick up that information. It's there. It's also on our website. And again, I'm here to listen and really figure out with you how we can be more helpful in the months that are to come. Thank you.
Thank you for all that information. Next, with the Pasadena Director of Public Health, Manuel Carmona.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Manuel Carmona. I'm the Acting Director of Public Health for the City of Pasadena. I want to start off by saying that we stand with the greater Pasadena community and everyone that's been affected by this terrible tragedy. The City of Pasadena is one of 3 city-based health departments in the state of California. The department is committed to preserving and protecting public health within the city. That said, while we are independent, we work regularly in collaboration with the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health and our sister city, Long Beach Health and Human Services, to protect health in the region. I'm here to remind everyone, as many folks before me have said, about the importance of taking precautions to reduce exposure to poor air quality and toxic ash. The Pasadena Public Health Department urges everyone to use a tight-fitting mask to protect respiratory health when outside and wear goggles, long sleeve, and pants and gloves to protect against toxic contaminants when handling ash and debris. If you have any concerns, consult with a health provider before you put on a mask. If you're unable to wear a mask or you don't have a mask, the best thing to do is stay indoors if possible. When cleaning up ash, do not use leaf blowers. Avoid stirring or sifting through ash, and avoid actions that kick ash particles into the air. It may be difficult to find appropriate protective equipment at this time. While everyone is eager to begin cleaning up, it's critically important to wait until we have the appropriate protection before doing so. In the days to come, the City of Pasadena will share more information for accessing these essential equipment.
That's going to finish our presentations with utilities and public health. Next, to help close us out, I'm going to ask for Congressman Judy Chu to come up.
I'm Congressmember Judy Chu, and my heart goes out to you. I've heard from so many of you, and the devastation you are going through is unimaginable. But I do want to say there is help from Washington, D.C. Immediately, President Biden approved the federal emergency management grants, and normally they are approved at a 75% reimbursement level. Well, President Biden made sure they were approved at a 100% reimbursement level. And that means no expense will be spared in making sure we fight this fire and keep you safe. And President Biden immediately declared a national disaster. And what that meant was that FEMA could immediately come down and provide assistance. FEMA worked overtime to make sure that there was assistance and a website up for disaster assistance. And in fact, there is the disasterassistance.gov website where you can apply for aid, and I encourage you to file a claim from FEMA, and also to put in what your insurance is, because FEMA is supposed to provide what your insurance does not. And FEMA can provide for so many things: rental payments for temporary housing for those who lost their homes, reimbursement for lodging expenses such as a hotel, grants for home repairs and replacement of essential household items, and serious needs assistance to cover expenses for emergency supplies like food, water, diapers, and gas. Now, we've heard from so many constituents who said that they did apply and then were not approved. So we have been in touch with FEMA about this, about hearing so much of this actually from our constituents. They are saying that if you got a non-approval, these are not denials. And they need further information, or there is some other question that they have. I would like to urge them to just say that it's pending then, if that's the case. Nonetheless, here's what my advice is to you: to go back to them and to keep your communication with them to find out what the issue is. And so we do have FEMA representatives at the county hospitals, and they are at the county libraries, and the county libraries like Arcadia Library, Temple City Library, Alhambra, and San Gabriel Library. So you can go there. You can also call them, and they're at 800-621-3362. You can also go to see them as they are stationed in front of the Pasadena Convention Center. But whatever it is, don't lose hope. I think that there can be an answer that ultimately would provide you with the assistance that you need. And in fact, another level of assistance is the fact that many of you ran out of the house without your documents. And so you need those documents. They can provide those documents to you. And in fact, you can even sometimes get these documents like passports and social security cards in the same day. So it is really, really important to go and communicate with them. And there also will be a disaster recovery center that they're going to open up as a long-term office that you can go in and get the assistance that you need. I also want to say that SBA has tremendous disaster assistance as well. They have loan programs that help both homeowners and small businesses with their physical structures. And they are very low interest loans where you don't have to pay within a year. They also have economic injury disaster loans, which have the same provisions for small businesses to rebuild. So if you have these concerns or if you have interest in SBA, they're actually opening up an office on Tuesday at PCC. Now, let me talk about the post office. The Altadena post office burned down. Many of you have asked about your mail. And now the operations of the Altadena and La Cañada Flint Ridge post office have been relocated to the Pasadena post office at 600 Lincoln Avenue. So you can pick up your mail there with proper photo ID. I wanted to say something about price gouging, because you know there are people who would want to take advantage of you. But I want to let you know that California law is such that once an emergency is declared, no business can charge you more than 10% of its regular price for 30 days following. And then Governor Newsom just issued an executive order having this price gouging provision also apply to building materials and also extended it to a whole year. So no price gouging for building materials. I also want to say there's an issue with insurance. Of course, California has some real problems here, and there have been far too many non-renewals of insurance. Well, thank goodness the California Insurance Commissioner just issued a moratorium on non-renewals for insurance. So if you have it, you're safe for a year, for sure. But there are also issues that you may have if you have insurance. So there is going to be a workshop here on January 25th and 26th for any of you that have issues with your insurance. Call them to set up an appointment and make sure you get those issues addressed. So I'd like to just end by saying, you are not alone. So many people from Washington, D.C. to Sacramento to all the localities to so many just good-hearted people are with you and want to help you. And so I truly believe we will get through this. We are resilient, we are strong, and we are a united community that will help one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman Hsu, for those words. Next up, we'll have from the Pasadena Fire Chief Augustine with some words.
Good afternoon. As was mentioned, my name is Chad Augustine, and I'm your Pasadena Fire Chief. For my Pasadena residents, it's important to remember that there were numerous cities across Los Angeles County impacted by the Eaton fire. Thankfully, Pasadena is a full-service city with our own police, fire, water and power, and public health. This has allowed your Pasadena city leadership to make decisions based on what is directly best for our residents as we work to repopulate and restore our community. I'm pleased to announce that Pasadena is down to around 700 residents that are still under evacuation orders. Next, I would like to speak on behalf of police and water power to provide some important information. I want to reiterate that the city of Pasadena is not under any curfew mandate, and Police Chief Harris will be available for questions specific for police matters. Next, I would like to provide an update on the status of water and power. On the water side, please see the recent press release that was released today. We're in the final stages of water testing for most of our impacted areas. The results will be released and published tomorrow. We expect that up to 90% of the impacted areas that were under do not drink tap water orders will be able to resume drinking tap water tomorrow if the tests show that the water is safe to do so. Those results will be published for full transparency. On the power side, currently we're down to only 106 customers without power. 101 of those are in the Upper Hastings Ranch area where crews are actively working to restore power. Interim General Manager David Reyes is also here for specific questions related to water and power. I also want to refer you to the City of Pasadena website for any tips, maps, or information that I just provided, and you can go to www.cityofpasadena.net. On the fire front, I'm so thankful for the support from resources all over the Western United States that have helped us as we battle the Eaton fire. For my community, as was mentioned, we currently have state and federal urban search and rescue teams searching impacted residences. This may impact evacuation orders over the next 1 to 2 days. I apologize for any inconvenience this may cause, but my commitment continues to be that we will search every residence that was impacted by this fire. Finally, as I previously mentioned, this fire is personal for your Pasadena City employees. We have numerous employees who have lost their homes as well as loved ones who have lost their homes, and they're still here coming to work every day to serve each of you. We will be with you through the full repopulation and recovery efforts. Thank you.
We just have 2 more speakers, and then we'll get to our question and answer. Next, I'd like to call up the Unified Commanders, Dustin Mueller and Kevin Bohal.
Sorry, we're a little taller. All right, good afternoon, good evening. I first want to start off, my name is Dustin Mueller, Unified Incident Commander of the Eaton incident. So first off, sorry for your guys' loss, the county, the community, and all your family and friends. You know, and after 28 years of in the fire service myself, never seen something so devastating. Kevin and myself have been part of many fires over those last 28 years, including the Park Fire most recent, the August Fire, the Camp Fire up north in Northern California, and then also the Dixie Fire where I currently live in the middle of that footprint. Multiple towns and communities also devastated there. This is by far the most devastating that I've seen. So I want to talk a little bit about what Unified Command means and the extreme effort that we brought everybody together from federal, state, and local departments here to help get you guys back to some kind of normalcy. So Unified Command, we come in with 4 different incident management teams, myself leading a federal incident management team, Chief Bohal leading a state incident management team from CAL FIRE. We got Chief Puckett from the LA County Fire Department leading LA County Fire's incident management team. And then also, correction on that, Commander Puckett from LA County Sheriff and Chief Pappas from LA County Fire Department. So all 4 of those incident management teams come together for basically one fight and one mission, We had different set mission tasks at first, but myself and the other incident commanders decided that it would be better if we all joined the fight together and all bring all our teams together to support you and your communities. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Bolhall in the incident and talk a little bit more about the damage and the assessment. You heard from my operations chief on the fire situation. I'll be available for questions if there's more to be had there after this. Thank you.
I got to move it back down. I'm a little bit shorter. As stated, we heard from operations and we heard about fire behavior and weather. I did want to talk about how the unified IMT or incident management team is working together to utilize the resources assigned for different skills and abilities. Some of those are perimeter patrol. These are all things we spoke on, but urban search and rescue, damage assessment, assisting in the recovery planning, tactical patrol, and providing information. So specifically, there's been a lot of questions to damage inspection teams, which are DINS teams. What happens is they go out there and they do a survey of the impacted area, and they survey all of the structures. So impacted, ones that weren't impacted, so damaged and destroyed are included in that. So up-to-date information is we're 24% complete on the impact area. 3,800 structures have been inspected, and unfortunately 212 have been damaged and 1,422 have been destroyed. I did want to talk a little bit about a collaborative effort. So in Unified Command, we have a collaboration with local, state, and federal partners, and we also have other entities that help out with that partnership. But one thing I did want to speak on is one of those partners is you as the community, supporting us, supporting each other, and doing everything else we can in this effort to make sure that we have the best possible outcome for the citizens of Los Angeles County. Thank you.
Maybe if I can do this. There we go. All right. So that's going to conclude our presentation. That did go a little bit long, but there was a lot of information in regards to the recovery process that we're going through. We're going to open it up to our question and answer. How we're doing the question and answer is we have about 5 pages of questions that we accumulated from you guys via the email address, as well as we have some the cards that you did. They've all been passed out to the designated spokesperson. But before we do, I'd like to acknowledge that we do have a representative from Governor Newsom's office, as well as State Senator Perez here, and I thank them for joining us. To start off our question and answer, we're going to have Board of Supervisors Catherine Barger to start with her questions.
So the first question that is asked is, we are extremely concerned that our community will change with the rebuild to condos and gated communities and can you provide additional help and regulations that helps those of our neighbors to come back to this generational community? Yeah. I have been here for over 60 years with family, friends, and neighbors. This is not a transient community. So what I'm going to say is twofold. Number one, Altadena has a community standards district. That is in place. That's going to stay in place. We're not going to let what happened in Lahaina happen in Altadena. Number two, one of the things that caught me on this is generational community. We've been here for 60 years. When people rebuild, the rebuild is going to be assessed for property taxes at the value of the home now. So I'm going to be looking at what we can do to protect those that are going to be priced out because of their property taxes going to the current assessed value. So we're going to be looking at that as well. I'm going to be working with the state. And then last but not least, one of the things that also struck me with this is the issue of gated communities and condos. I am going to ask, the governor was very responsive in issuing an executive order to suspend CEQA and other regulations that are in play that would make it difficult. I'm going to ask him to actually look at suspending the legislation that has made it so easy for developers to come in and build dense condominiums in areas that do not meet the community standards districts of Altadena. and I'm going to ask that he include that in his executive order so that we can maintain Altadena the way it belongs. Is my only recourse, and my second question, is my only recourse as a renter to leave town? My family loves Altadena. We don't want to leave. Is anything being done for renters? We are suspending the short-term rental ordinance, and we are going to make it easier for people to rent in Altadena. So stay tuned. We're going to look at everything we can to make sure that rentals are available to the people that belong there, and that's the people from Altadena. So stay tuned.
Next up to do some follow-up questions in regards to operations is our Operations Section Chief, Ernie Villa.
Good evening again. Make sure you guys could all hear me. If not, I'll speak up. When will residents be able to access their homes, at least to take a picture of damage for insurance claims? So the process for repopulating these areas that have been impacted by the fire are extensive. It weighs heavy on your guys' safety, and so there's a lot of process that has to go on with that, and a lot of agencies that have to be cooperating to ensure that when we say that you could go back in here, that it's safe to do so. There's still a lot of fire in here, structures and buildings that are still smoldering. The infrastructure damage that exists in here is extensive. It's going to take a lot of collaboration with all the cooperating agencies, local government departments, to make sure that when we identify when that can happen, that we do it and it's safe for you all to get back in there. Please be patient as we're working hard around the clock to make sure that we can do our best, the fastest we can, to get you back in your homes. What are the possibilities of the fire reaching the 210 past Orange Grove with smoldering still a threat? As long as this fire has heat signatures in the areas that I've identified, there's going to be an extended threat to the fire getting outside of that area and continuing to move. Things that will limit our ability to do that would be the winds, which would limit the helicopter's availability to fly because of safety, or access issues in here as this operation continues in here with the recovery portion of the efforts that are occurring down in this lower section. Have any firefighters been injured? We have 5 firefighters that have been injured as a result of suppressing the Eaton wildfire. Thank you.
Next, to cover some questions regarding our recovery operations, Jed Gaines, our Operations Section Chief.
All right, one of the questions I have is, why were some of the streets left to burn? This individual wrote they stayed from 6 p.m. Tuesday until 1 a.m. Wednesday and no one showed up. Part of that was the street houses were not left to burn. Obviously, as you know, LA County was taxed with fires, and resources were moving in from where they could. They were going structure to structure and putting out the ones that they could, and with the resources they had on hand that night to get that done. Just because when you left somebody may not have been there doesn't mean they didn't show up that evening at some point as the fire progressed further into the neighborhoods. Everyone was actively engaged in firefighting all night long. Resources were dispatched from all over the state and out of the state on Tuesday evening. We had resources coming from Oregon, Nevada, and Arizona that night in to help as quickly as we could. Next question I had is, given the incident is similar to the Thomas fire that had mudslides immediately following, what is the plan to prepare for mudslides? That was the hydrologist report I talked about. We are currently working on that, both state and federal level, preparing models that they run on what the hillsides will do after a fire. So that is being talked about, and that information will be shared with the counties, the cities, even in the fire area and below to try to prevent that, but that is a concern, and people should be prepping and being ready for that for when the rain does come. Follow-up questions. We start preparing sandbags for mudslides. The cities and counties, I imagine, once we get the hydrology report, we'll start doing that. We'll be putting up K-rail and all the other precautions to help with the mudslides if and when that happens. Another question, what exactly does containment mean? So containment means we put a percentage around the fire. So right now it's at 27% contained. That means if you went around the fire and you see our maps that we have up there, the red line that you see on the maps is open fire line. The black line that goes around the edges, that's the containment line. So if you add all those little black lines up, it equals 27% of the containment. And the fire can eventually will be 100% contained, and hopefully that's what we're working towards. So we're working on our priority areas to get those buttoned up to keep this fire from expanding before the next wind event comes, and we're confident we're going to do that. Another question I had is about drone flights to be able to see up and down the streets. Right now over the fire perimeter, we have a temporary flight restriction, which means there's no aircraft, manned or unmanned aircraft can fly over the fire area, and once that is lifted, we have that in just for fire aircraft only, so we don't have an issue. On the Palisades fire, we had a drone hit one of the super scoopers in flight, and that immediately grounds all aircraft. So if you are flying drones in the area, please do not. There's a temporary flight restriction. The sheriff's working with the federal government to keep those down, and if you are flying, they will locate it and cite you for that. So once we get done with our damage inspections, our USAR teams are done doing their work. Once it's safe to do so, eventually you will be able to get drone flights in, and they'll be able to post footage of the damage area. Thank you.
Next up, we're going to have the Director of Public Works for LA County come up, Mark Prestala.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Okay, thank you. Some follow-up questions, and it's a follow-up on Chief's last comment. Someone asked a very smart question. What about rain coming? What about debris? So Los Angeles County Department of Public Works is also your Los Angeles County Flood Control District. Many of you know that we have Eaton Yard and Eaton Basin in the area. You can rest assured that the large-scale, all the channels here are all the watershed here, and our devices to capture those flows have been designed to capture a burned watershed, and that's exactly what we have. In fact, they've been designed to capture a storm that lasts 5 days with intense rain and carrying all the debris that you see on the slopes there. And we have been preparing year-round for this kind of event. The basin that many of you know exists at Eaton Canyon is fully ready to accept that debris. That does not mean that we're free from debris or flood hazard. And in fact, we're currently analyzing in coordination with CAL FIRE, as was stated. Our engineers are on site right now analyzing the debris on your properties and the surrounding areas that don't make their way to that debris basin. And we are making plans to, one, advise you on debris control. So if anyone would like to have an engineer come to their home in Pasadena or Altadena or any of the communities here within the flood control district, we will provide a free engineering advice for those of you, particularly those that are occupying your homes currently, so that we can advise you on sandbagging and protecting your home from potential damaging storms. One thing I have to tell you that is a little troubling is we are seeing a change in the weather pattern. We are expecting a change towards the end of the month and expect that we may have a window for rain. And so it is important that you know that we have already been preparing year-round for such an event that includes the fire that actually already happened. So there's that. You can call again our phone number I mentioned earlier, which is 1-800-458-HELP. And you can sign up for, and we will send an engineer to your property to examine it and make sure that it's properly protected in the instance that we have rain. And yes, the question was, have you cleaned the gutters before the rain start? Yes, we clear those year-round. Please provide status of the general wind debris cleanup in the streets. The streets are currently being cleared of debris, trees first, and then they will be removed. The large debris and trash will be removed first. And on trash, for everyone, we will be resuming your trash pickup tomorrow. So if anybody is residing in their home, partially damaged, or if you had put trash out before you left your home, that will be picked up beginning this week, starting tomorrow. Pool owners, someone asked, what do you do about a pool if it's going stagnant and dirty water? Be aware that Vector Control will be actively here along with Ag Commissioner. They will be reviewing any pool that has been left behind or sitting stagnant, and they will be treating those pools for mosquito treatment. I understand that the evacuation area should not drink the water, and there's several of these water ones, and I know it can be confusing about water, so I'll state again. First I'd like you to do is identify which water agency you are served by. There are 5 in the area. Pasadena Water is one of them. Water and Power is one of them. Pasadena Water, as was stated by the chief, has some portions that have a no drink area, but it's very minor. The Altadena area has a large area that is a no use order. You can go again to find out who your water company is by going to water4la.com, waterforla.com. Find out who the water agency is. Go to their website, and they will have the order right there in front of you telling you whether or not the water is safe for use at this time. I've also brought a convenient map here at the bottom. If you're in Altadena and you see one of the water districts there, and then afterwards you want to take a look at it, you can identify whether or not you're in one of those areas where we believe you shouldn't, where we are ordering you not to use the water. And I think the last one is, someone asked, and it was a really good question, I'm happy you got it. What is the location of the LA County Public Works pop-up structure? We have a mobile facility that we are driving around Altadena right now, moving around Altadena right now. Currently, it is being located across from the library in the Rite Aid parking lot, which is within the evacuation zone, I know. We are going to be locating a permit facility, ultimately conveniently located within the alternate area. We have not identified that location yet. We will have a full-service community center there where not only LA County Public Works will be located, but regional planning and other direct service departments will be located as well for your convenience. Thank you very much.
We have a couple more questions that will get addressed. Next up, I'm going to bring up Captain Williams, who has a few questions that he'd like to address.
So we've had a lot of questions regarding about when will people be allowed to be let into the area, and can I give an anticipated time? I don't have a time frame right now. However, I will say there is progress. Just beginning today, we did start to repopulate some of the area. I don't want to give a specific time on when we will start to repopulate the other areas, because it takes a lot of different departments to do their assessment. And it will not be opened up until everybody agrees with the assessment of the area. But there is progress being made. And question was asked, what's the best place to search to see if your area is open for repopulation, whether it's been downgraded to a evacuation warning area? The best site is protect.genesis.com, and I'll spell it out. It's protect, PROTECT .genesis, GENASYS.com. Just, you can search your area, you can even type in your address, and it'll let you know whether or not it's in an evacuation order zone or an evacuation warning zone. Again, the warning, you're able to go in. The order, you're not. Question about whether or not we're allowing escorts into evacuation order areas, and the answer is we are not. There's a number of reasons for that. First of all, our resources are very valuable right now. We don't want to spread them thin. They're spread out throughout the county. If we were to open up escorts for people, we could become overwhelmed. At this point, We don't want to take away resources from protecting areas and doing patrols and things like that to start to escort people in at this time. Also, even more important, we've already deemed the areas not safe for people to be in. We certainly don't want to escort people into unsafe areas. So until the area is deemed safe, that's why we have the checkpoints up. We won't be escorting people in. Now, I understand there's questions about can they come in for a few minutes just to get vital medication. Still, we're not escorting people in. However, at the Pasadena Convention Center, that's 300 East Green Street, there are different entities there that can provide medication for people that need so. I personally went there last night, and we saw Kaiser and other medical facilities there that can provide prescription medication as needed. So the best place to go is to the Pasadena Convention Center to get your prescription filled if you need so, or your regular providers. There was a question what is being done to protect different structures. The Sheriff's Department has specific missions in place, set posts to protect certain places. We're also doing roving patrols periodically 24/7 to protect residents and different businesses. And there was a question about whether or not private security will be allowed into the areas to protect businesses. And at this point, no, we're not letting private security to come into an area to provide protection. So the Sheriff's Department, we're in the area. We will continue those patrols and protect certain areas. That's another. For homes that are intact, when you anticipate residents to be safely being moved in. Again, I can't give a specific time, but we are starting to progress, and we will have the people in. There's a question about what progress has been made to identify the cause of the fire. I don't have an answer for what caused the fire, but it is being actively investigated. And then there's a question about how we're treating the people that we encounter. The Sheriff's Department's core value is based on treating everyone with respect. We rely on the faith of the community and the backing of the community to do our jobs, and the laws and order in place apply equally to everyone. No one group is put above the other. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that the laws in place and the orders in place are being applied equally to everyone, and that's due to we want to make sure that the public is safe, and it's all about public safety right now. So we will continue to treat everyone with respect and make sure we're continuing to do our jobs. We need the community to have faith in us to continue to do our jobs. And that's all I have for the questions.
There's been a couple of questions about the school systems, and we got some answers. We don't have them all, but we will be following up. But I'd like to ask Dr. Elizabeth Blanco, the superintendent of Pasadena Unified School District, to come up.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start out saying that we are deeply committed to making sure that every child in this community gets back in school as quickly as possible. We have our food centers open to all children, regardless if they attend a charter school, a private school, or one of our schools. They are at 3 locations: Wilson, Madison, and McKinley. If you know children that need food, please have them come to one of these centers. The only requirement is there's a child in the car. We also are working around the clock to make sure that our historic buildings are assessed and reopened as quickly as possible. We are committed to serving our children. We are committed to serving our children again as quickly as possible. We want to keep our community together. We have national award-winning schools, and our doors will be open soon to everyone. Thank you.
To answer some questions, we're going to bring back up Cody Tubbs, the Director of Public Affairs with Southern California Edison.
Okay, a number of you provided really thoughtful questions. Thank you for that. A number of them are very similar, so I'm going to bucket them in the category and just cover each. The first question, which I can understand is top of mind for everyone, is if you've evacuated, do you need to take any action to suspend your SCE bill? The answer is no. What we did is all of the zip codes that had been evacuated as of last week, we did suspend billing. You do not need to take any further action. I do want to share the last bills that went out were on January 9th. That's because of the billing cycle. No bills have gone out since then, so there is a bit of a lag of a few days. But January 10th forward, for every account we have in a zip code that's been evacuated, that account is in suspension. No action needed on the customer's part. Another question that's come up, again, really good questions, thank you, was around undergrounding. Let me talk just briefly about SC's approach to rebuilding the grid in the Altadena community. We want the grid to be better. We want it to be more resilient. So what we will be doing is we will be rebuilding the grid to newer standards. For example, where we have a circuit where we had not yet deployed what we called covered conductor, which is a coated wire that will not spark or is less likely to spark if a tree branch or a palm frond comes into contact with it. What we will be doing when we rebuild the grid is all the wire in high fire risk areas will be that coated wire, covered conductor, so that it's much more fire resistant, helps us harden the grid, and hopefully prevent future ignitions. A couple of you asked in particular around undergrounding. We've been using a targeted undergrounding program already in our high fire risk areas. I'm expecting undergrounding will be among the things we will be looking at to make sure that the grid is resilient and more fire resistant going forward. Another question that has come up from two of you was around the safe operation of your solar system. My recommendation there is please consult with either a licensed solar installer or an electrician to consult with you once you're able to access the solar system to make sure that it is in fact operating safely. And those are the questions that I had. Thank you for providing those. I'll turn it back to Steph now. Thank you.
And to close us out on our question and answer, I'm going to ask that the Mayor of Pasadena, Victor Gordo, comes up. Sir, we have an answer for that, and I'll make sure you get it.
The question that I have is, many of us are staying with friends in Pasadena who do not have adequate parking on site for our cars. Has Pasadena temporarily abolished their no overnight street parking rule? We have not, but you've got Councilmember Gene Masuda, Jason Lyon, Councilmember Lyon, Councilmember Hampton, and Councilmember Jones here, and we'll certainly bring that back for a process that maybe treats it on a case-by-case basis. And so we'll commit to doing that, and you can look for more information. One of the other things that I heard, and I'll close with this, is the issue of people wanting to go back into their homes. Safety is first and foremost. And this is the escort issue. Can you be escorted back? Safety is, of course, first and foremost. But if it's a matter of resources, we'll also take back the possibility of the Pasadena Police Department partnering with the sheriff, if it's safe, to help provide some of those escorts. Thank you.
So that is going to conclude our meeting, but we will have a virtual meeting tomorrow night where we're going to address some more of your questions. Sir, Chief Augustine has answered that question on several occasions. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
What's up, guys? How is it going? First of all, I wish you a happy new year, and I wish that 2021 will be a better year than the previous one. Thank you very much for joining this live stream. And without further ado, I know that you're excited about this build. I'm also pumped about it. A lot of you have asked to do this build, so here it is. Today, we're gonna build a Uber clone in React Native. And it's going to be a full stack application, both front-end in React Native, back-end in AWS Amplify, which will come later during the next weeks. And this is a default like taxi mobile application. It's not very specific to Uber. We're going to use Uber's design, but you can adjust it for any other taxi mobile application. And during my research, I saw that most of applications that are taxi application like Uber, Lyft, Yandex here in this part of the world, they all share the same design. So this will be very good because we can based on this clone we can build any taxi mobile application. So what we are gonna build? First of all, we're going to build a home screen. And here we will see on the top a map with the user location and the position of a user on the map. After that, we're going to see like a message, which is like very, something related to COVID. And then we're going to see the search bar. When we press on a search bar, we're going to go to the next page, which is the destination search page. And here we will integrate Google autocomplete features because, when you start typing an address, Google will suggest specific addresses, and you can choose from that list. We're going to implement that. The next will be after you select the from and the destination location for your trip. Our application will suggest you a couple of options, UberX, Comfort, Uber XL, and so on. It will also display all the prices here. And a cool feature here will be to display this map with the route that you will take. So some small cool features that we will include in this build, which is probably very specific to a taxi app that we didn't implement in other clones, is the maps and the directions, and specifically these directions that shows you the route that you will take with a taxi. Then what else is the Google autocomplete features. as I already told. And also we're going to implement the drawer navigator, because a lot of you have asked about this, how to implement, so we're going to get into that today. Regarding front-end technologies, as always, we're going to use React Native with JavaScript. We're not going to use